What up, gamers? I'm Jason.
I'm Julie.
And today on Dice & Dragons, we are going to be reviewing Call to Adventure Epic Origins. This is published by Brotherwise Games and designed by Chris and Johnny O'Neill. Now, this is the third game in the franchise, and it changes things up just a little bit compared to the others. So Julie's going to take it away and tell you more about the game itself.
So this is primarily a cooperative version of the game, but you can also play it competitively. It plays in about 60 minutes. It's for 1 to 4 players and is for ages 13 and above.
Yes, and as Julie mentioned, this is primarily cooperative. You can still play this a classic competitive way where you're trying to tell your hero's story and score the most points. You just take out the adversary aspect. However, in the Epic Origins version of the game, you're now going to be going through a campaign. We're on Chapter 3. Now, you can go through the campaign or just take the cards out and play the as a regular cooperative game. We'll talk about that a little bit more in our review, but you're going to progress through the game. Each campaign scenario, each chapter, I should use the right word, you are a new generation of heroes. So essentially you restart and you're trying to defeat the adversary and save that generation, from all the evil and the bad stuff that the original heroes, they save the world, but it never stays saved. Why is that, Julie?
Because there's always bad guys.
Yeah, and another new thing is you have your heritage guard, so you do have a race that you will be a part of: Halfling, Construct, Dwarf, Elf. There's a whole slew of them. If you stick around for the components, you'll get to see that. On that note, I think I've talked enough about the game. Oh, wait, no, I have to mention what we're doing. We are casting runes, trying to get successes, and as you get successes, you'll pass challenges, pick up new traits, so you get more runes, and you will be working to get the runes that you need specifically to defeat the adversary. There we go. Now we're done.
I think so. So now we're going to grab our drinks.
Grab our best friend and fellow adventurer. We're going to take it to the table. One more time.
What are you this time?
The Lithani. I'm a construct mercenary Lithani. So I'm a Lithani construct. How does that work? I don't really know. We've got a little bit of bonus cards here. Now we take a look at the components for Call to Adventure Epic Origins. Now, unfortunately, shooting in 4K, I can't quite get everything on camera, especially the way I wanted to do it, but we'll make it work. So here we've got the rulebook. Now, if you've played Call to Adventure, the original, or Stormlight Archive, you're fairly familiar with this. The setup is primarily the same. Some of the differences are going to be really preparing the adversary, and then the rules, for example, when you get to how you're going to defeat the adversary. So you're going to want to go through the rulebook. You get some nice examples, very easy to play. So the examples of facing the adversary is here, and then facing the final adversary. So those are the key differences. Other than that, you're very much playing the same Call to Adventure that you know and love. Now, the big thing about Epic Origins is the fact that you do get a campaign mode. So you got campaign Chapter 1, Chapter 2, Chapter 3. We haven't gotten to Chapter 4 yet. We are currently getting ready to play Chapter 3. So you'd open up these packages and include them into the game. Now, what is included in there? You're going to be getting a new adversary. So, for example, this is from Chapter 2, Spawn of the Beast. So you got an adversary, a final adversary. You've got the Dark Lord's Concert, which is the first one. And then from Chapter 3, the Fallen Angel, adversary, and the final adversary. Not really any spoilers, otherwise I wouldn't be showing it to you guys. And then the 2 types of quests, the adversary quest, Reign of the Adversary. And then to make it more difficult, you've got the Age of Darkness, which will make the game more challenging. So you do get those adversary cards. You also do have the chapter cards, which kind of explains everything to you. So for example here, like Beast of Legend. So Chapter 1, Darkness Falls. When it tells you to go to Beast of Legend, you got the setup instructions right here. You also have these adversary cards. So these are what's going to happen when you throw that rune that lets you pull hero and anti-hero cards. You have to play a card from the adversary deck, and it can be good or bad. You also get some adversary-specific cards. So Dark Lord's calls for Chapter 1, Hunted by the Beast is for Chapter 2. You get the idea. We do have the anti-hero cards as you can see here, which give you some nice abilities and bonuses. They can also mess with other players because don't forget in Call to Adventure, even though it's a cooperative game in Epic Origins, you're trying to defeat the adversary, there is still one hero that is mightier than the others. You've got the hero cards, which are a little bit more cooperative, and they give you, benefits like the anti-hero cards to completing challenges and facing off against different enemies. Here we've got the experience tokens, which are now back to the beautiful plastic tokens that I really like. We have the score sheet, and I'll just move that off camera. We don't really need it. Then we've got the heritage, Origins, Class, and Destiny cards. We've got Act 1 and Act 2 cards that you can see. You'll progress through the acts. So now these don't go on your player board. The heritage cards that go next to them, you get stuff like Birdfolk, Gnome, Elf, Half-Orc, and they give you special abilities when that anti-hero and hero card come up. So that's just another way to be facing off against the adversary. They'll pull something. You'll be able to use something from your heritage. You got your different classes, and I think Warrior was a bonus card that we got from another pack, but like Adept, Initiate, Outcast, Artisan, Laborer, you kind of get the idea. And they all have their own abilities that you get at the start of the game. Next, you've got your class. So what are you? You're Warlock, Sorcerer, Paladin, Druid, Wizard. And what'll happen with these is as you place XP on them, you get bonuses to trying different paths. Now we do have, I think, some cards here from some special expansions as well. Not expansions, sorry, some promo cards. Then you've got your Destiny, where you'll get points at the end of the game. And these really are about the scoring and your win conditions. So Hero Destiny, I know, is from a promo pack like Master Assassin. At the end of the game, you get 1 point for each dexterity in your story. And then for every XP on your class card, you get points as well. Because, you still want to be the mightiest hero of the age. So we saw the Act 1 and Act 2 cards. Let's take a look at what they are. And you can see we also got the nice playmat. So you've got your path, maybe a more difficult path, different symbols, what skills you're going to have to chuck. We'll talk a little bit more about the skills in a moment, some different traits that you can acquire as you're going through the game. So really in Epic Origins, you've got the traits and the challenges. So you could become a folk hero, for example, trade an oracle, recover stolen goods. And as you can see, they're largely the same, all traits and challenges. So if you have played the original and you're wondering where the allies are and a few other things, they're not there. And then you've got the Act 3 cards, which are even more challenging. You get some other cool, almost like a secondary class or ability, or Shadow Dancer, what you're known for, a Lore Master, because at this point, you are slowly becoming a hero or anti-hero of Destiny. Now, you can see these here. We've got the nice tray for the different runes. We've got Wisdom. And you can see right here, these ones here with the 3 dots are the third rune you would gather because they have a special ability on the other side. Well, a special thing that you can get. So here's Constitution. Swords represent strength, dexterity, charisma. You've got our standard ones right here. Intelligence. And then the dark runes, you can pay for 1 experience to use, but it can slowly lead you down the path of becoming an anti-hero. Now, we also have, which you can't see here, but at least fully, the player board. So this is a promo card that we got the Lithani there, but you've got your player board. Not the big cardboard, but still pretty good. So you've got your class set up. You've got Origin, class, and your Destiny. Your Destiny is always face down. You've got the little tracker here for where you start, which is the 2 light points and the ability to play hero and anti-hero cards. And then next you'd have your heritage to the side. And there you go. We've now taken a look at everything. You've also got an idea how to set up the game. This is on the playmat that we got with the all-in pledge. So really love the playmat. Highly recommend it if playmats are your thing. So I think I've talked enough about the components for the game. Julie and I are going to be coming back at you with our review. So Julie, what did you think of Call to Adventure Epic Origins? This is our 3rd dance with the property, and we loved one of them, not so keen on the other. Where does this one fall for you?
Well, it's closer to the first one than to the second one, that's for sure. We didn't like the second one.
And I want to just preface something before we forget. You can play this exactly the same way you can play the first one, so this can be a competitive game as well.
So there's not a lot different, I find. I would say that the cooperative version is more balanced. I really, for as much as I love cooperative games, I did not like the cooperative version of this in the first iteration.
No, in the first iteration, it wasn't very well done. It really felt a little tacked on. It was definitely improved in the Stormlight Archive, the second one, but it felt very limiting for whatever reason. And I think part of that was because if you failed to defeat the adversary, everyone would lose. So you really had to build your character in a specific way and not even focus on trying to tell your own story if that's the way you want it to go. And that's not the case in this game, where the adversary has a set amount of XP, and then when the game, the adversary's XP has to have been depleted. Meaning you can fail, you're okay, as long as, somebody else cleans up the mess after you, or, you just smash them really hard. Everybody.
I mean, so there's the added element of the
heritage, the race card.
I was going to say it's not a trait; it's the heritage.
Yeah. So I was a construct in the last game. You were a halfling. Previously, I think I was an elf. I don't remember what you were.
I can't remember.
We had a couple of different ones. It's hard to remember necessarily the names, but they do have very different abilities. So it adds another level of asymmetry to them.
I had a similar one that I got to gain a card when I had the...
just reach over. I don't like stretching, but typically we can see, here we go. We've got elf. So a whole bunch of different ones. Julie can give a couple names to the crowd.
Half-orc, beast folk, elemental, dwarf,
you get
human.
the picture. You get the picture. So if you did not watch the component section of the video, now you got to see a little bit what else we got.
So besides that, there's not a lot that's different. I mean, I can't really say too much more about it. I would say we really enjoyed the first one. I guess the other thing to talk about is the campaign. So I have to be very honest, and it's going to be brutally honest. Jason was reading, what the campaign lore, the backstory. It's weak sauce. I couldn't care. I really, really don't care. And, I'm not the biggest fan of the backstory. It has to really be interesting. A lot of times Jason's telling me, and I'm like, yeah, whatever.
She's not big on story.
I love reading. I love stories, but I'm just kind of like, okay, the for those who know a little bit of business and their colors, the red side of me comes out, and I'm like, okay, get on with it. I just want to play the game, and this is especially true in this game. It's whatever. And actually, Jason pulled out the card before this one, and he started reading, and I said, I haven't listened to the other 3 that we've done.
They're very loosely connected. Sorry to interrupt you there, but it's not the best campaign because there's no follow through from one character to the other. You're basically one generation of heroes fighting a different big bad, and there's a little bit of a through line. This event causes this event causes this, and this event kind of opens the way for a new bad guy to emerge. And that's the way the story's been progressing.
Yeah, so I said you can read it for yourself. I don't care. So for that element really doesn't do anything for me. I think the best thing that I can say is, I really enjoyed the first one. I enjoyed this one equally as much. I think I would put it a notch above, given I think the trait is fun. It's an added little bonus that you can get that helps you beat the bad guy. I would say if you already have this game, the first version, I don't think you need to have this one unless you want to give your version to somebody else and get yourself one that's just a little bit better. Then go ahead. But that's my take. And
I gotta agree with Julie. We talked about the campaign. I don't feel that it has necessarily come together. I'm hoping that by the end of it, and I'm not sure when we're going to get to the end of it, that it all comes together. But talking with another friend, another content creator who has this game, was excited to play the campaign mode because, like us, he likes the original. Was like awesome campaign mode. Then plays the campaign mode and goes like, oh, okay, I don't really need to go through this. I can just open up all the cards and mix them together. And you really can. Besides the adversary specific cards, which is almost just like picking your scenario. I mean, you're not really going to be restuffing these envelopes later on. You'll just be remembering which cards are which because it kind of tells you. And even then, if there's a couple cards that get mixed in terms of the destinies that are more difficult to sort out, it's really not that big of a deal. And you're going to just be playing through a regular game of Call to Adventure with the co-op version being the primary focus. And I have to say, I do really like what they've done to sort of smooth out the experience. Now, Julie did say there hasn't been too many changes compared to the original. The one thing that I am noticing now, and we didn't talk about this off camera, we probably should have, was that there are a lot more like traits and things like that you can get early on. Traits that also have victory points, symbols, stuff that can get you those points so that you can be the mightiest hero at the end, and also let you progress a little bit faster. But there are no allies in this, so that was sort of the pullback. Like, you don't have any allies anymore, but you can get these other traits that provided when you've got certain things like with tough right there. I'm not sure if you can see it, but it will give you constitution. If you have enough dexterity in your story, you're also going to gain experience. So that's pretty cool. And then, for example, like my construct, I can spend that experience to add an extra ability rune to the challenge, or I can use the anti-hero and hero card symbol to either draw a card or trigger my special ability. So they have definitely changed the gameplay, and I feel that it's a lot more well-rounded. And I really enjoy the co-op a lot more on this. I think they did a good job with the Stormlight Archive, but I really felt that it was too restrictive. I like the fact that there is what's known as the Adversary and then the final Adversary with their XP pool. These guys are easier to beat. You fight the Adversary, then at the end you have to fight the final Adversary. And we just had a good time playing it. I didn't think that it was overly challenging. But the game is still very, very random. Random cards, I moved them off to the side, but random results on your runes, which can really go in your favor or really mess you up. Which happened on a couple of games where I kind of got stalled. I had probably my worst beginning ever in a Call to Adventure game than the first game we played, where I failed 2 of the beginning challenges.
Well, and that happened to be this game. I mean, I won the first 2 games pretty handily, and then this one, it just didn't, the cards weren't coming up in my favor.
Yeah, but it doesn't deter from the experience. And the fact that you just have to take away all the XP from the adversary means that you can still build your story. So if you're falling behind, you can be like, well, you know what? Maybe instead of doing the choice that's more for fighting the adversary, rescue a prisoner, I can try to disrupt the ritual so I can tell my story at the end of the game. Now, for those of you that have seen our previous reviews of Call to Adventure Epic Origins, Julie doesn't like doing that, but she does kind of like, I think she's getting at least into the part of constructing her story, because she was telling me how she was a halfling pirate master assassin. Now she left out some of the stuff.
I'm a rogue pirate, a rogue halfling pirate who's a master assassin.
See? So she's getting into it just a little bit more, but not to the bit levels that some of our friends get into, which I do miss because those stories were very fun.
I have nothing else to add. Well, actually, we have to rate it.
Yes, we definitely do have to rate the game. And if you're finding this review a little sparse, it's because we've reviewed this twice before. And I think we were both expecting something different from the campaign mode, whereas it's a nice to have. It doesn't really change up the experience that much. I'd say the heritage cards and some of the structuring of the cards in there and removing the allies really do change the gameplay. And don't forget, though, you can mash this up together with all the other previous
I also
expansions.
find, sorry to interrupt you, I also find that there's more opportunities to gain cards, to gain hero or anti-hero cards.
I do find that as well. Like, that's what I mean by they've changed up the cards, and with the heritage, you are getting an interesting and more a fun flow to the game. I like the way this feels, and we might, we'll probably play the original and this mashed together at some point. So, Julie, you started talking about it. Why don't you go and give your rating of Call to Adventure Epic Origins? And remember, you gave this one a really good score originally. So
I was going to say, I really don't remember what the score is. Yeah, and it's not fair to compare a game that I would have scored 4 years ago versus now, because we've played a lot of games since. And, you know, with the background of games that I have now, I would say that this is a solid 7.5, and that's saying a lot. You know, there's been a lot of games that you know, that have ranked around that are, you know, very, very solid games. So I'm still sticking with this as a 7.5. If I were to revisit the other one, I'd probably give it a 7. How's that?
Well,
to put it into perspective.
All right, so she'd lower her score because previously this was like an 8 and an 8.5 range for Julie. So I'm going to give this a little bit higher score than Julie. I'm going to give this an 8. I still really like it. I thought about maybe giving it a little bit lower score, but the campaign elements...
Betty won this game, so...
The campaign elements are fun and they don't detract. If the campaign elements were actually a hindrance to the gameplay, then I would have given this a 7.5 as well. But I want to give it an 8 because I think this is still the best. I think this is the best intro version of Call to Adventure right now. If you don't have the game, this is the one that you should buy. So I'm rating it based on that this Epic Origins should be your origin point, your starting point into this franchise if you get to make that choice. So, on that note, we're now going to
remind you to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell to be notified when we have new content for you.
And take a look down below in the video description. You'll find links to all of our social media feeds, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. If you'd like to see some pictures of Julie and I playing Call to Adventure Epic Origins, there'll be some up on our feeds when I get a chance to it. Not posting as much as before, but we still have some stuff from time to time. And then also popping up in front of us are going to be links to some of our previously released videos. In front of me will be our most recent release. In front of Julie will take you back to our review on how to play of the original Call to Adventure. On that note, we're now going to
grab our drink,
grab our best friend and fellow adventurer. I mean, I don't know, she's a master assassin. I was ascended deity. Well, that actually works like Forgotten Realms. That literally happened, I think, during one of the
Okay, is there one of your cards that says you're verbose?
Actually, I got that from you.
Oh, and we like to remind everybody, too,
Keep playing games.